Hello, good morning, and also a good afternoon, and warm welcome to today's Power Boost, Living in the Light. To be in the light is one thing, to live in the light is another aspect, but of course they go together. And if I want to live in the light, that means, or would imply, that there is darkness around me. And if there's light and darkness, I have to know about both. I have to be knowledgeable about both, and I have to understand what is that light, who is that light, who am I, and the principle, spiritual knowledge, spiritual teachings, spiritual practice, and also understanding which goes with the spiritual wisdom about the darkness. Because if there's ignorance, if I don't know, I will make mistakes unknowingly and wonder, why did this happen? How come that I feel like that? Why me? Why is this situation in my life? So to be in the light, and that's where we connect to the spiritual wisdom, which is at the time we live in now very, very essential, because it is only spiritual teachings that connect me to the light that I am. I am already that light, but I don't know about it. And so to emerge that light, to feel it, to be it, and then live accordingly will not happen by chance. So that whole understanding that the self, the sense of self, my identity is beyond this physical costume. We express or manifest our inner state of being through the physical form. Knowing about soul changes, or it allows me to change the perspective towards myself, perspective towards others. And when I know about spirit or soul, and that I am that soul, soul is a conscious living being. Soul animates the body and is originally pure, clean, powerful, wise, sweet, loving, happy, blissful, actually. No? And then I manifest these qualities through this body. I perform actions, I have thoughts, I speak, I look, and I do things. And so the qualities of the inner self then get manifested in this world. Now, if there is a world, or we live in a world that is less than bright and happy, then there's the opposite. No? There's the problems, there's darkness. And so how do we create light within and free myself from the darkness also that not only surrounds me, but that has also gone inside of me? And the same, of course, applies to others. And that's where we connect to a principle, a spiritual law that governs everything that happens in this world. So one is, if I understand who I truly am, a being of goodness, and then I do things that are not in alignment with them, if I perform anything negative, cause harm to myself, to others, this is what we refer to, it's like a sin. I harm myself, I harm others. There's also another group of can use that word, sin, where I don't actually do what I need to do. The sin of omission, the sin of commission. I do the wrong thing. We do something that goes against my inner conscience, for example, or I don't listen to my conscience. I don't carry out the responsibility that I have agreed to, for example. So there is also a negative impact as a consequence of that. And then the third one, which I really only learned when I came on this path of spirituality, and we use the slogan, don't give sorrow, don't take sorrow. Now, this taking sorrow means it's not necessarily that I'm doing something wrong, but something is done to me. So there can be, just someone lashing out at me, but also it can be very gross, very severe, very harmful when there is any form of abuse, verbally, physically, emotionally. Every day almost we are exposed to negativity. If I am not in my light and I'm exposing myself to negativity, not exposing, we are exposed, right? So if I am not in the light, then I'm in the dark. That means when I'm in the dark and dark is around me, I will absorb the darkness. I will absorb what is being done to me. I take it personal. I take it into my heart. And as a consequence, that creates a distortion, a corruption within my own soul. So the damage that is created in my own inner being, not just the brain or at the level of the body, brain is part of the body, no? But much, much deeper at the level of the being, at the level of the soul. And a wound is created, an impression that distorts, as a consequence, distorts the vision or the sense of self that I have, and that becomes then very negative. It distorts how I see myself, how I feel myself. I actually can even, and if we experience a lot of negativity, if something really bad is done to someone, that goes into the heart, into the core of the being, creates that wound, and that one loses completely a sense of self. And so, as a consequence, there are a lot of problems. Any form of negativity that emerges then from me, from the one who has absorbed that negativity, who took it into their own being, then becomes negative. And negativity is a form of violence, right? And there are lots of forms of violences that we commit because we don't know better, and we don't even know that we are causing harm, that we are actually operating and being driven from a place within that has been violated. So if I live in the light, I have to understand and develop a sense of self beyond this physical image, beyond this physical body, and connect to my spiritual identity, and understand that whenever I do something that goes against my inner self, I'm just adding to the darkness. But before we move into a meditation, there is one more important element to that whole thing. Because at this point in time, when we talk about meditation, we want to learn to meditate. We approach and look into spirituality because we need help, we need support, we need to come back to the light. And I come to know, as I come to know about my light, I also come to know about the vastness of negativity that I have accumulated in my own being out of ignorance. I was weak. I didn't have enough power. Yeah, these are so the main reason. There was ignorance and there's a lack of power, a lack of understanding. And if things happen in our childhood, as it does to all of us, or did to all of us, a child is very innocent, very open, is in that sense totally unprotected of what is going in because of its openness, innocence, everything. Children take everything in, and a lot of damage is created already at a very early age. So when I now approach, have that interest to learn, to come to know about my own self, about my own light, and we come to know about all the darkness that has also entered, and we start to face it. Now, here is the important aspect. I have to understand that whatever happened, it was out of ignorance, out of weakness. It was part of the game, part of the whole unlimited performance. No one can avoid it, right? So that whole aspect of forgiving the self, accepting, embracing the self, and realize that I'm actually totally okay. There's nothing wrong with you. Doesn't matter what happened to us. There are reasons why things happen, but that doesn't mean that I am bad, that I am not good, that I have less value. Do you understand? So that self-acceptance without having the need to use the darkness to judge yourself, put yourself down for what has happened or maybe still is going on. But really realize it is what it is, but now I have a choice to turn it around. So that unlimited of self-acceptance is a form of love and care for the self. And the more we are able to do that for the self, we will be able to be a support and guide for others as well. But the key thing is I have to work myself through the darkness to the light, or I have to reconnect to myself as this being of light, being of goodness. So, and look at the darkness, become the observer, and without having the need to judge it. It has become part of me, but originally it was not. So think about yourself in this way, and you will have very, very good experiences. And this is not just to make us feel good. There is a big element of truth to it. You understand? It's not just to please ourselves and pretend that, okay, let's just forget nothing. I don't give it so much weight what happened, and I just focus on the light. No, but there is, from spiritual principle, there's absolutely no need to give weight to the darkness. Okay, the weight, the empowerment has to be of coming into the light. So let us now experiment with meditation, coming into my light. So as I sit relaxed, scan your body if there are any tensions in the body. Give permission to relax, let go. Take a breath in, exhale, And then gradually and gently, I focus, bring the energy up and bring the focus to the center of the forehead. There's a saying that we learn, and that saying is, be seated on the be seated on the seat of your self-respect. Be seated on the seat of your self-honor. And the seat is the forehead. It's just behind the forehead. This is where I, the living being, reside. Visualize yourself as a tiny, self-luminous being of light. Bring the focus to this point. Let go of all the different thoughts that float around in our minds. And have the aim to create focus and concentration on the thought and that image of being this amazing, beautiful, sparkling, precious, and unique being of light. And within that point, there's consciousness, there's mind, there's intellect, there are impressions. All my life experiences are stored in this point. But in this tiny point, there's also the experience of the time when I was fully in my life. The intrinsic qualities of purity, peace, love, wisdom, joy, strength really make up my being. These qualities refer to my sense of self. I, the being, I have an identity. I have a sense of self that is beyond any identity connected with the body, the gender, the race, or maybe position, the work I do, the family I have. My true sense of self is totally independent of anything physical. So become aware, realize the original beauty and power of yourself as a living being, a living energy that is actually imperishable, immortal. I have forgotten myself and I became weak. I became ignorant about myself and adopted many, many different false identities. But now is the time to let go of what is not true, to let go of any falsehood within, and come back, return, and embrace your own light. From this place of inner awareness, self-awareness, where I am in my power, connected to my own inner greatness, I start to understand and eventually realize that any form of darkness has no more power over me. Because I face it, I don't deny or suppress it. I'm not fearing it anymore. To be in the light, I can look at the darkness. I use my third eye of wisdom that I've turned back on myself to see my own light. And from this or through this third subtle eye, I understand and I see that sometimes the darkness may show up in form of a demon, big anger. But now become the observer. Choose to be in your own light. And that there is absolutely no need to have any fear of any form of darkness. The demon is in power if I suppress it, if I keep it in the darkness. But being stable in my inner truth, connected to my inner being, I face the demon, the dark, and I observe it, I watch it, and let go, because I do not identify myself anymore with it. Has become part of me, any form of negativity, but does not belong to me. It's a form of falsehood that has entered the being out of weakness, out of ignorance. So feel your heart and be willing to forgive, to let go. But never let go of your own inner light. It is my own responsibility. And of course, there is the help of the Supreme Light, the ocean of peace, the ocean of love. That being is extremely subtle, but that being exists and is with you. So to stay in the light and stay empowered by knowing, deeply knowing and accepting that there's that supreme light, there's God, a being of light, the ocean of love, who knows me better than I know myself. And the Supreme Being is always in the light. And becomes my guide to guide me back to my own pure, true light. And to be in my light, self-aware of my true self, I am in my power. Om Shanti.